Greetings and welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. I'm Phyllis Hollis, your host. As an extension of my Instagram page, Cerebral Women, this podcast offers insights into the visual art world. I interview artists, mainly artists of color and female artists who will freely articulate what inspires their creativity. In addition, you'll hear interesting perspectives from dedicated art professionals who work with artists and the art institutions that feature them. I'm confident that collectively, these individuals will indeed stimulate your mind as they do our eyes. Please know these interviews are conducted in my Manhattan apartment, so please forgive the background sounds of city life. Welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. This episode features Jose Duran. From the Dominican Republic, he is a painter, designer, and sculptor. He began painting after traveling to spend time at the Black Rock residency founded by his close friend and collaborator, Kehinde Wiley. His vision has been cultivated from years of partnerships with renowned, fine artists and has accumulated in a unique and expansive artistic practice. His work is anchored in extensive research of practices of survival, celebration, vengeance, sabotage, and aspiration desires in Black communities. He draws from baroque and rococo interiors to create scenes of architectural lavishness and femininity, producing complex compositions anchored in whimsy and play. Jose centers Black feminine figures as a reclamation of the contributions to European makers of taste and as retribution for their forced labor under colonial rule. Jose's fantasies retrospectively place Black women at the center of his lavish interiors, where they reap the fruits of their labor. His practice is an ode to the dreams and aspirations of his late mother. Between the Bronx and the Dominican Republic, would imbue in the artist a taste for cosmopolitanism and beauty. Enjoy this episode featuring painter, designer, and sculptor Jose Duran. Jose, welcome to my Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. I look forward to our conversation.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
Great. I like that. So when did you discover your artistic passion?
When I was very young, I always told the story of my aunt telling me how they used to ask me how they looked when they used to dress up to go out for an event. And I used to, without, just tell them yes or no, and then they will go and change. And so I think it was from there on, I knew about, it was something in me about, colors and shapes, that I knew what was right or wrong when somebody was wearing them when I was very young. And from there on, that was my early memories of when, about art or style. So that's why, after, I started fashion and at a young, dressing up and then went to fashion school. But that's how I started my artistic practice.
Share with us your practice today.
Today, it has been a beautiful journey for me to transition from fashion to painting to art. While I was doing that a couple of years ago, it was like seeing the world differently. The colors were different. The shapes were different now. Now that I am, was focused on painting and sculptures instead of creating fashion or clothing. And it was a great to discover new things. I always, after I went through this, I always tell people to, try to do something else so you can see the world differently. And yeah, so that's how.
I love that. Try something else so you can see the world differently. That is so true.
Yes, when you do something the same, your life, your job or, your career or your art practice is always the same. You see things the same way forever. But when you switch, then you start seeing it differently. So you experience different things. Yeah, for me, it was great to do that.
What materials do you use in your work?
Oh, right now I'm just using paint, acrylic or oil paint at the moment. But when I do sculptures, I do textiles. I go to thrift shops and find and give life to this to new clothing that were, given away or thrown out, and I always think I'm giving them a new life to putting them in the sculpture. That's what I'm using now, just textiles and paint at the moment.
And what inspired you to start working and creating sculptures?
I started creating before the pandemic, like a month before, actually. Like through, I was in Black Rock, Senegal, when the pandemic started, and that's when I went to start my practice because I asked my friend Kehinde Wiley if I could take a month and go there and discover what I wanted to do in the art world. And I was able to stay there for a month. And then while I was there, I was seeing how Senegalese people use textiles to create, little shacks or maybe shops in the street using textiles. So I found that fascinating. And then when I came back to New York, and then after maybe a year, people started building houses in the parks and using clothing and using textiles. So I started making these little homes in the parks and leave them there, and then for hopefully people were able to go in and rest. And then from there started doing sculptures with tables and chairs, draping them with textiles. So I didn't want to do fashion anymore at that time, but I wanted to dress something. So I was dressing furniture and creating these little homes in the parks of New York, and then photographing them, and then from there I started painting them. So everything started with sculptures.
So, what is your process of choosing colors?
Usually never know the colors. I just work with one color, and that color takes me to the next, and then that one takes me to the next. So then I work with the color balance of the whatever I'm working on. After maybe two or three colors are placed in the canvas, then I'm working on the balance, because my whole aim to when I create something is for you to look at the entire image of the painting for every corner to find new details. My main goal is the balance of the colors to be for my eyes to be fine and to be, perfect for me to look so that it can drive me everywhere in the painting, because the colors just it makes you travel all around, It's never a color that will claim more attention than the other when I create something.
And when do you know a work is finished?
When the balance is there, when the color balance is there, and yeah, that's just for me, it's all about colors and shapes, and when the shapes are balanced with each other, and then they all dance in the same song, shapes, colors, and texture.
And when do the titles of a work enter the process?
That's very interesting because I love to call name them as friends of mine or women that historical women's sometimes, or women that are around me at that moment, or family members, that I like, my aunt, my friends. So, if the painting looks like my friend, then that's the name of the painting is my friend. And then when I tell them, they get so excited because they, now they feel like, they are part of something. So for me, it's also, it's very important to my work to engage with everyone. So giving the name of friends, but usually sometimes with the subjects that I am working on investigating, like the one that is Paula Aguiluz is my next show. I give the name of Paula, or she was called Alleluia. She gave that name to herself. So the name of the show is Alleluia. So he's always trying to relate the names of the people that are fan of my work or fan of me, are also the people that I discovering or investigating to create work.
And do you listen to music while you're working?
No, I think I get into like kind of a trance because I don't like noise. It's kind of, and I get very concentrated. my mind is just into it, and I rest maybe a little bit, but then while I'm resting, I'm like walking around it and like even peeking through the door, to see, so I don't listen to any music, no.
Are your life experiences reflected in your work?
Yes. Oh, yes. I experiences and also dreams and desires. My mother dreams and desires, my, you know, my Dominican community dreams and desires. I always try to put them on my work. I love to create the interiors inspired by the Rococo era. If you go to the Dominican house here in New York or in Dominican Republic, you see the houses decorated, inspired by Rococo, because this is a symbol of wealth. Because of this wealth, the islands where, all this wealth was taken through the slave trade and taking the gold out of the Latin America and South America. So it's kind of like taking back and placing us into these spaces.
Do you feel that Hispanic or Latinx art can be defined?
Every country has their own uh, art practice, and so it can be defined by country and culture. It cannot all be together in the same package, because as we see, Haitian art is amazing and it's very individual. It's Haitian art. If you go to Guatemala, it has their own practice, and Colombia, so it can never be put in the same space, I say.
When people look at your work, what do you want them to see?
My first thing is what I discovered during my investigation process. That's the main. I want them to understand and to learn something besides what they're looking at. I want them to learn something, like the stories that I'm telling. Sometimes imaginary stories, but most of the time are true stories. And for example, Paula de Aguiluz, she was born in Santo Domingo in the 1500s, and then sold to a family in Puerto Rico, and then sold to Cuba, and then she was known to be a witch. She was called a witch. So from Cuba, they sent her to be trial in the Inquisition, to the Inquisition in Cartagena. So I went to Cartagena a couple months ago for a residency, to a polo residency, and there I was investigating Paula de Aguiluz. So she was known for her love attraction plants and rituals. So these I created paintings out of this discovery and out of this knowledge that I gained while I was doing that. So I want people to know about her, to know about her history, and to know the untruth stories about witches, that the Inquisition killed so many people, and there were trial, and she was tried 3 times, and then she was let go 3 times. So she was an amazing, amazing woman. So my aim is for people to know her and to learn about her.
What do you enjoy most about your practice?
Discovering, reading. This is when I really get into reading and investigating, when I'm about to create a project or paint a collection of paintings. But what I enjoy the most is what I learn from every show that I do, or every painting or art piece that I create, is the knowledge that I gain while I'm just learning and reading about that subject. So that's what I enjoy the most.
Have you been or were you ever influenced by other artists?
It's very interesting because I when I was in fashion school, I used to see art, but I never knew any artist. My introduction to art was through Michelin Thomas, Kehinde Wiley, and Derek Adams, because they became my friends 20 years ago. And for me, they are my inspiration. Because I learned so much from them. The investigation process and how to navigate the art world. So these are these people I met. The first people I met in the art world were them. So, and I'm super excited, happy to consider them my friends, and they supported me all these years through my fashion years, and now with art, with my new practice of painting. So yes, the trilogy, I will say, Kehinde, Michelin, and Derek are, my inspiration, actually.
Exciting.
Yes, it was super because I was that was in the beginning of their careers. I was like going to their shows and discovering art through them because and I was super young at that time. They were young too, so it was super cool.
What are you excited about right now?
Right now, my father was just diagnosed with dementia a couple months ago. So, I'm super excited to have the time to take care of him at the moment and to take him to the doctor and care for him because it's a very difficult moment for my brothers and I, the three of us that are taking care of him. I'm the oldest, so I kind of know how to navigate more with this situation. So yeah, I'm excited to be with him and to see this stage of his life, and it's super. My mom was everything for me, but she passed away maybe 9 years ago. And to have him asking me about her, where is she? Where is your mother? Or have you seen her? I haven't seen her in a long time. So it's like it's bringing my mother back in a way that it's very unexpected because it brings back memories of like how much he loves her. So I'm super excited to go through this. It's a sad moment, but it's very important for us, for me and my brothers.
How do you feel this chapter in your life will impact your art?
It will. It's happening because I always, when I create, I'm always dreaming and creating stories. So something that, I'm going through with my ex and my discoveries of plants, of love attraction, and it's also a healing process for me through, what I'm going through with my father and my partner. But I don't know where it's gonna take me, but I'm ready for the process to see because I'm not really sure, but for sure I will create, the stories of my mother and my father in this beautiful space together again, because it's being with him is bringing back my mother into the picture of him having her alive, thinking that she's around.
It's sad, but yes, it's beautiful.
Yes, it's because like for so many years, he knew that she passed away, but now he's blind. She's alive, and I tell her she's in heaven, and then he's like, "Oh, how do I go there?" So it's a very sad, but it's a moment to see the beautiful side of it.
You are reliving beautiful memories.
Yes, 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 totally.
What do you feel is the purpose of art?
It's the purpose of art is to communicate and to dream, to create stories. So, everybody has their own way of creating art, but mine is about creating fantasies, create desires, and to be able to dream. When you look at my work, I want you to feel like you're in there and to imagine things that yesterday I was talking to a writer, and then he was like, "Oh, you do your interiors. There's no one in it, but it feels like somebody lived there." So it's kind of like, I want you to feel like you can go in there and live there with my interiors and with the plants, they feel like they're alive. So it's like the nature. So art is about, dreaming and taking you out of your reality and placing you somewhere else.
And when you're creating, do you think about who your audience is?
Yes, I do. A nice story when I did my first show in the Dominican Republic 2 years ago. Right? Not, yeah, about 2 years ago. I was talking to mothers and older ladies about my work and my love to my mom, and to see them crying, and to see them admiring my work. That was the most beautiful thing because it's like I was reminding them about the love of their kids to them. My audience is women, and everybody else that love women. I love my mom. I love my aunts. So the stories that I tell is about their desires and their dreams in life, and never making them sad or in a not attractive way. is always making them beautiful into these opulent spaces and to make them dream. So my audience is women.
What aspect of your practice do you enjoy the most?
When people ask me, I just that communication. When I open a show, I like to be there as much as I can to talk to people about my work. And I think that's, talking, communicating my practices to people. That's what I enjoy the most.
What's been the biggest challenges that you've had as an artist?
For me, particularly, I like to move around. I can't be in one place for too long. When I was doing fashion, and it was the time, that I didn't spend too much time with my family because I was, working in Dominican Republic and having shows here. Now that I am painting, I have more time to spend with my family and to travel more. Especially the time when my mother was, she was diagnosed with cancer. I had to travel to go work in France. So I had to spend more, a lot of time in Paris doing shows. And during that time, I was supposed to be with my mother, taking care of her. And I really regretted that, like because of the time and the time that spending time with her while she was here in New York, instead of working, abroad, it's being with her and making sure that she was fine and taking her to the doctors, all these things that I was not able to do at that time. But now that I'm painting, I have more, it gives more time to take care of my father.
I've really enjoyed our conversation. This is going to be the last question. And that is, how do you want your art to impact the way people think?
I want my art to just dream, that everything is possible. And even if you can't live it, you can dream it. You can see it. Yeah, that's what I want people to know that everything is possible, and you can dream and you can live all you have in your desires. Yes, I think that's my answer to your question.
Well, thank you for all your answers to my questions. I've enjoyed this very much.
No, thank you, because I always like to talk about, to inform people about my practice. So it was great to be here with
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. For additional content, please visit cerebralwomen.com and be sure to follow Cerebral Women on Instagram.